Okay, guys, we are back home and Nesper's at the firing range. On our back is both 270s. And today, I think it's about time we start getting into some guides on the ammo. So I know people have been waiting for this, but all the sort of science on the new ammo takes quite some time, just because there's so much involved in it. So we're going to start with the 270 today. We're going to go over the basics, and then we're going to go over some of the info provided from Toothless. Toothless has been hard at work on things like cavity damage and the differences between the ammo. And Liquid Fire has been working away at finding the energy amounts at the different distances. And I've been streaming away and practicing with each of the calibers, trying to get a good feel for everything. And we put all the info together. Well, basically, I'm trying to condense it so that some of the info might be useful to like the average player who doesn't want to look at spreadsheets and stuff like that. That's sort of the goal, because Toothless and Liquid Fire, they've been doing a great job. They're both very much into data and spreadsheets. It's just sort of hard to translate sometimes. It's difficult for people to like open up the spreadsheet to try and take a look. So that's what my little video is going to be about, trying to condense some information here. So we'll get right into it. We're going to start with the basics. Most people know the basics, of course. So the 270 caliber comes in the two rifles, the Star monoblock Armad green brown, and then the Remington 7600 pump action. One thing to note is between the two rifles, the energy between the two is exactly the same. So when you're looking at cartridge performance out of the three cartridges we have in the 270, it's going to be the same between rifles. What does change though is the hunter sense dot, like the hunter sense dot that means it implies like how close the grouping is. So the 7600, of course, it's the Remingtons. They all have an accuracy penalty or something like that. The grouping is not as tight with the pump action as the Steyr monoblock Armad here. So that's a key difference between the two. When you switch through cartridges, the recoil is the same. Well, it's different between the rifles, but it's, you know, the recoil is not going to change between the different types of 270. The sound's not going to change. The ballistics of the bullet's not going to change between these two, but it will change between each cartridge, of course. Goodness, that's going to get confusing with the two rifles in the three different cartridges, and they're doing different things. Well, to sum that one up, it doesn't matter which rifle you pick. The only difference with the rifles is the hunter sense dot and the grouping, and then and it's better with the Armad. The only advantage the Remington pump action has is it's got faster follow-up shots. It actually the action runs faster than the bolt. So in the game, apparently the hunter sense dot size and the sound of the rifle and the recoil of the rifle is all bound to the rifle, and then there's this bunch of this other stuff that's bound to the cartridge itself, like programming wise. So we're talking energy, we're talking wind drift, we're talking like how much the bullet drops, things like that. That's what's bound to the cartridges. So to keep things simple, we're just going to be using the Armad today. Just keep that in mind, that both rifles perform exactly the same with the cartridges, except for the groupings and how fast the action can be run. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff here. Now, what you're seeing on the screen, don't worry, it won't be there very long. I just want to show some of the tools that we're using today. This one's going to be a bit too hard to see on the screen. We're not going to really look at it. It's basically what I'm looking at. Now, this is from Toothless, and it's how he's measuring the cavity damage of each cartridge, and this will be probably available in some form to everybody at one point. I don't know if he's updated his manual, but it will most likely make it to his big long manual there. The link will be in the description as long as I remember, and I'll probably remember, no doubt. But now I'm going to show just a quick screenshot of the Liquid Fire stuff, just so you know that we're just, you know, not pulling the info out of thin air. All right, let me just see if I can find it here. Oh no, that's not it. That's the Bumbleroot coffee mug. I don't know how that ceramic dishwasher safe mug got there. Let's see if I can. I got all my buttons all mixed up here. And oh no, geez, they're the coasters, the deer coasters that go under the mug so you don't stain the coffee table, of course. Hold on, I'll figure it out here. Some days I just don't know how to run a computer. I don't know how they got there at all. I think I got it now. Here we go. So it looks something like this, a little screenshot of it. Again, the spreadsheet goes for a couple miles to the right of all sorts of info. So this one I'm going to try to link in the description too, because it's available. He's sharing it to everyone now. It's not fully completed, but all this is sort of a work in progress. So all credits go to Toothless, of course, and Liquid Fire. They're the ones doing all the hard work. I don't even think Liquid Fire's been in the new map yet. He just went out to Tikamoon, I think, to measure all the different ranges and stuff, or the energy at range. I just bumble around here trying to put the info together and try to present it somehow. So let's go in the encyclopedia and find the 270. This is the first cartridge I took out for a spin, and I'm glad I did, because it's a nice sort of balanced caliber here, where each version here has enough differences to it that it's kind of worthwhile to bring each one, or at least each one's a little bit interesting. Now, some of them, a lot of them will have 3 choices, right? And there is a concern in the community that one cartridge will be the heavy cartridge, one will be the light cartridge, and then the one in the middle no one will have any kind of use for. That sort of is coming into effect for some of them, but not the 270. They all have their purpose here. All right, so we're going to go through each one here with the sort of need to know stuff here. So the trophy bonded tip by Federal here, 130 grain cartridge. Now this one here, just to keep it simple, this is the unlimited one, the free one. It got reworked, of course, so every single ammo, even the default ammo, got a rework. And everything got nerfed at range, and we're all kind of adapting to everything here. But when deciding what to take between all 3, or which one to use, because you can take them all, the trophy bonded tip is going to be the one that you're going to use most of the time. So this one is the strongest, pretty much at all ranges. I'm just skimming right through right now. Yeah, this one's nice and simple. This is going to be your cartridge for the tier 5, upper tier 5 animals, so the heavier tier 5s, and then also into tier 6. Now, I normally shoot under 300 meters, so 200 meters is actually more about what I do. This one was taken down moose and bear, like brown bear and everything like that, fairly much with no problem. So how this one performs is, yeah, when comparing to the other 2, at every single distance out to 1 kilometer, it is higher energy, and it's going to have a longer cavity too. So this is just the safe one to take here. Like if you don't know really what to grab, basically the cavity of this cartridge is stretched out, so it gives you more flexibility, more room for error. So I don't really have any like images to sort of show at the moment, but if you're doing like a broadside with the trophy bonded tip here, basically the cavity will spread into both lungs. Like it'll stretch from the first lung and into the second one. So it's excellent for those double lung shots. So this one is definitely a excellent cartridge to use. If you're just starting into the game, the 270 trophy bonded tip, just throw it in there. At 100 meters, you're hitting at 3,700 energy, approximately. And, you know, basically for any tier 5 broadside or even quartering, you know, you only need about 3,200 joules of energy here for it. So it's going to be coming in at plenty. Even out at 300 meters, it's hitting at 3,200. Now, in different cartridges, how much the energy drops over time, like down in this little graph here, like over the distance, can play a factor, but not so much when you're just talking about these 3 cartridges here. They all fly fairly flat in comparison to everything else, but just so you know, this graph is typically accurate these days, but not all the time. But it indicates the core soft point flies a bit more flat than the polymer tip, and then the Barnes TSX hollow point drops a little bit more, but that's not really too much of a factor with the 270 here. So the 270 is good, all tier 5s, quartering shots, broadside shots, a frontal shot, you're good to go. So you don't really need to worry about too much there. The only thing you have to worry about is maybe hunter score on some of the lighter tier 5s. So if you're worried about the hunter score, this next one is the one for you. So we go from 130 grain polymer tip down to a 100 grain soft point. So the core here from Remington. So this one has almost identical performance to the polymer tip, except for the energy change. So it definitely has a drop in energy. We're looking at how the trophy bonded tip was 3,700 at 100 meters. This one's at about 3,400 and a half. All right, so about 3,450. So, you know, you're dropping 200 to 300 joules there. And, you know, it just kind of drops as it gets farther out. You know, when you're comparing to this one, at like 300 meters, it's now dropping 500 joules over this one. But as far as cavity damage goes, everything like that, it's the same sort of shape. It is elongated, so it's stretched out there. So that's able to, like when you're doing like I was saying before, like when you're doing a broadside, it'll get the first lung and the cavity go into the second lung. So what this one is used for is basically for lighter tier 5s and tier 4s. It says hunting tier 5 down here, but basically I just load this one when I'm running into a tier 4. So on our new map, you can pretty much, if you encounter a link or a lynx, or even a wolf, you know, the wolf's on the lighter of the tier 5 side. If you're worried about the meat loss or the hunter score, or not, no, the hunter rating, you can throw this guy in. Like, you won't have to use it too often, but if you're any kind of distance away from a lynx, you know, 150 meters or so, you put this in, and then it'll just be better energy for it. You won't have to worry about going over. So yeah, typically you won't be using this one too much, because you can still hit them with this. But this is just if you're concerned about the hunt rating of the shot and the meat loss. Switch this one down for tier 4 and a lighter tier 5s. I mean, you can also have fun times, you know, with the normal tier 5s, just to challenge yourself with the shot placement. Just be careful with this one because it is hitting with much less energy, and the lower the energy the bullet has, the more it's affected by bones. So while the polymer tipped one hitting at, you know, 3,200 or so, by the time it gets to a bone, it just kind of busts right through. While this one's probably going to be below 3,000 by the time it gets to like the leg bone or something like that. And I noticed that it slowed down significantly when hitting bones in comparison. All right, so that's the first two. Fairly simple. That's why I like this 270 here. This is an excellent cartridge to choose. And then you just keep this one in the whole time and just switch to this one. Just the lighter grain for the tier 4 and lighter tier 5 animals, if you wish. Now there's one more here, the Barnes TSX, the hollow point. This one gets a little more complicated. So it's probably going to be the least used out of all of these. But it's got a special property. Now, in terms of energy, it's actually fairly close to the polymer tip, but it starts out like 100 meters, just slightly less energy than the polymer tip, and it stays with the polymer tip throughout the distances, but it drops off just a little faster as it goes. So it loses a bit more energy than the polymer tip over time. So the polymer tip outperforms the Barnes TSX in every single category, and there would be no reason to try to reduce your energy to the Barnes TSX level when you have the soft point here, the core here, because you would just switch to this to lighten that energy hit on the animal. This one is not gonna lighten it too much, so this one's a little tricky on trying to find a place to use this. Which comes back to how I was talking about earlier, how you're going to have the strong cartridge for range and for, you know, hitting the tier higher in the upper the tier that it's in. And then you're going to have the lighter cartridge. So you're just going to be switching between these two. And then you got this third one here that is going to be hard to place. And that's going to be a bit of a pattern that happens through the cartridge. Not all of them, but it's a bit of a pattern. So what makes this one different, Bumble? What makes this one different? You know what? Let's find an animal. Let's set up and find an animal so we can have a harvest screen. Or I can probably just... I could probably, you know, yeah, let's find an animal. I'll explain on the way. Well, I wasn't really planning on hunting or anything like that, but we'll just run out, find a mule deer here. We're only going to bring the Armad here and the Barnes TSX hollow point, because that's the one we're dealing with. We're gonna hit an animal here so I can demonstrate. So the big question is, if the polymer tip 270 outperforms the hollow point in every single category, and the polymer tip is free, why would you ever use this Barnes TSX hollow point? Well, there's only one real scenario that I would use it in. It's going to take a little bit here to explain. So it's going to be a broadside shot cartridge, and that's because it sort of takes the form of like the Creedmoor. If you're used to the 6.5 Creedmoor, and sort of used to the 7mm PRC that we used to have. So here's some deer here. What it does is it expels its energy quickly and early. So what that means is if you're trying to do a quartering shot or any kind of difficult shot where there's a lot of flesh or bone in between the bullet and the vital organs, the cavity damage will all mostly just impact the flesh. So the cavity damage cannot be relied upon in cartridges that expel their cavity energy too early. Now you might be asking, why would you ever use a cartridge like that then? Well, it comes down to the kind of arcade damage model that the game has, where the organs all have hit points to them. So we're just going to take a shot here. There's a 1-star mature we could take. We'll try and get a broadside. They're going to walk right in front. They're going to be nice and polite here. They're going to be nice and polite, it looks like. Got a 1-star mature. Might as well take him. It's going to be 150 meters. Right now, the wind is broken. So that's one thing that's still work in progress. There's a lot in Liquid Fire's chart and Toothless's chart that they're still working on. But we can't measure drift or anything like that, so... It's because it's broken right now. So not going to worry about it in the shot. I do want a nice broadside here. Because if the theory works, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, mostly it does, he should drop instantly. He should drop instantly with this hollow point. As long as I land the shot well, and I can see his lungs here. Uh-oh. This could be difficult. I'm gonna need him to stop. Uh-oh. Oh, he just kind of clipped through. Let's try. Whoop, let's try and do a moving shot here, because they're on their way. Oh, they kind of quartered in again. Darn it! I need him to demonstrate here. I could just pick another one, I suppose, because this guy's just gonna be hiding. Oh, he's coming out here. I think this is broadside enough. That looks. He's quartering a little bit there. I want a nice flat broadside. Walk over here. I know you're like, take the shot, but I want a nice broadside. There, drops instantly. So that is the advantage right there of the hollow point here. Now the trouble is the polymer tip probably would have dropped him early as well, or instantly as well. But, you know, you can try it if you like and find out, but it's going to be different between distances and everything like that. But the reason why this could have an advantage is The distance that the cavity damage like expels at, like that's how it's really short, is usually about the distance that the lung is. So how this works, instead of stretching the cavity damage between both lungs like the polymer tip does, this one is going to release all the cavity damage into a single lung. Now, in the real world, of course, you usually want the double lungs, right? But in this game, if you hit a single lung with enough energy, which is actually 4 times what the hit points of the lung is. So this guy has 400 joules of hit points that it takes to knock out his lung. If you hit the lung with 1600 joules of energy, he'll drop instantly. So this cartridge can be used to focus all of the cavity energy into a single lung. Now, even if it doesn't drop him instantly, it'll do more damage than, say, the polymer tip could, which means this guy will run shorter, because typically the timer is on the most damaged organ. If it's really critically hit, he won't run very far as well. So if you have a broadside, moral of the story, if you have a broadside, you might want to switch to this round for shorter tracking or an instant drop. The other one can do it too, of course, but I'll show you here when we harvest it here. Yeah, so he was still quartering a bit, but that's why I was trying to get a nice flat one. So you can see here, the blue line is what you're sort of focusing on, is where the lung starts. So you get a lot of pen damage as the bullet goes through, but you can see the cone completely sitting inside the lung, and we get the little skull thingy here. All right, so we got more than 400 joules of damage just in pen damage, and then the majority of this cavity damage sitting at 1700. While it's not all in the left lung, look how little cavity damage got to the second lung. Barely any. We lost a little bit of cavity damage to the bone, a bit of cavity damage to the flesh. You always lose it here. But if you take away this little sliver, this little sliver, this little sliver away from the 1700, I mean, you're still sitting at probably well over 1200 joules of cavity damage embedded in this lung, and you need 1600 to knock him out, and we have more than 400 pen damage. So you put that all together, yeah, this is what this is used for. So there's an example there. If we were to do the same shot with the polymer tip, this cone would stretch out into the next lung, and then the right lung, what this shot may have done is not done the little skull icon here on the left lung, because some of that cavity damage would have been transferred over to the right lung. But what it would have done is knock out the right lung. So we would have had a bleed damage on the left lung and a bleed kill on the right lung, but the mule deer would have ran. Now, I don't know that for sure, because it was a close shot, 96 meters. But you're sort of seeing where I'm coming from here. There is a chance that the polymer tip would have knocked out both lungs, but then in this damage model in this game, this deer would have ran. Whereas taking the shot with the Barnes TSX, he dropped instantly. Well, see, now I'm curious here. The video wasn't supposed to be very long. 23 minutes we're at. But now I'm curious. Now I've got the trophy bonded here, the polymer tip. I want to set up a 100-meter shot broadside, just to see if it drops instantly or not. I imagine it will. So it's going to be hard to find that Barnes TSX hollow point sort of place. At a greater distance, it might have worked. You know, basically the theory is that it can drop them quicker or sooner because of that. Now, if it does or not, that just time will tell, and using the cartridge, and it all depends on the animal and the distance and everything like that. But just for fun, I'm going to set up another broadside 100-meter shot, but with the polymer tip. Try to repeat the same shot, and just see. That's what we do the science for, just to find out. Okay, so we're coming up on them here now. I'm going to try and hit another buck. Oh, this is a different herd. Oh, good. We got another 1-star mature. Now, I'm going to try and go over there and get 100 meters. Broadside. Wait for him to stand up. And we can test this out. How's the wind? The wind's good. Let's go on the other side of this bush. It's getting fairly broadside there now. We just need him to stand. We should be standing here any moment. I think I still need to go over this way. Hard to tell when they're laying down how they're going to stand up here. Maybe get... Oh... We'll wait till he stands, and I'll see what he's angled at here. For 0 for 100, he's a little close. I'm going to back up a little bit. And he should be getting ready to stand up. Okay, here he goes. Let's take a look and see. So, I mean, I'm not broadside on. I'll go over here, get a little bit better angle. Okay, we'll take it here now, even though... Well, the other one was a little forward, too. Hey, dropped instantly. Okay. So, you know, just use this one, I suppose. But again, there's other scenarios, right? Like, if you use 200 out, it's quite possible the other one would drop them. And this one wouldn't. That's where the testing has to come in. But it's going to be per animal, right? We'll just take a look at the cavity damage. So that's what I mean. We're gonna have the cartridge that doesn't really have a useful spot. The hollow point doesn't really have it. It's something to play around with to see. So that's broadside, pretty much. Well, it's pretty much the same angle as the other one was, and the right lung, same kind of thing here. So, yeah, it's actually fairly similar. Well, I hit back farther, like more back, so there's more space in between the lungs back here. And also depends on the height. Yeah, it's very similar, right? Little slivers and stuff like that. Oh, well. But yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know about where to place the... what in the world? Where to place that hollow point in there. Well, that's, I mean, more broadside. Yeah. So it's pretty much... I'm getting a weird camera glitch there. So it is what it is. I mean, play around with the calibers there. This may look the same, but if you get all the little measurements out, the hollow point there, it peaks like back here. Like how this one, it's hard to see, but it peaks up here. The other one will peak earlier on. Yeah, that kind of thing. So, yes, I mean, let me know what you think. But pretty much that hollow point, I mean, I'm still playing with it. I'm still curious about it. I don't know why would you use it over this? It's the only thing I could really think of is to try and concentrate more of that cavity damage in that first lung. But this one does it fine. Right? And I kind of knew that too. It was just like, maybe if we try the shot, it wouldn't. So anyways, but what I do know is this polymer tip here does perform better in quartering shots. Definitely does. Because the cavity damage will stretch out through the quartering flesh and stuff like that, where the hollow point will not. Anyways, I think that's all the info I have for you on this. So almost 30 minutes, 30-minute chat about the 270. So yeah, check out the links in the descriptions and all that good stuff. Because Toothless's manual will be there, but I don't think he's updated with this info yet. And then LF's spreadsheet. I think anybody can access it. I'll see. I should be able to throw it in there. Anyways, thanks for watching. Take care, guys. We'll check out a different ammo next time.